So yes, we're. I am at the far end of my career, being my 52nd year that I'm working on now in the industry. After I start at an excellent end user company, Texaco, in their central engineering department in Houston. I started Coherent Technologies. That was 34 years ago now. And some of our clients, we're still working for the same clients 34 years later. And we've worked everywhere from Melbourne, Australia to Gabon on the west coast of Africa. But most of our work has been in the United States because that is where our start was. And we're a innovative company. I hate doing things over and over again the same way, even though it can be a very profitable approach. But it's you don't feel that satisfaction of having developed some new technology and having moved the boundaries of the industry forward. So this is over the years, I've built a lot of relationships, and this slide speaks to that. That we were working on a project, and we had all of our engineers on the project already, but the customer wanted to accelerate it. And so literally overnight, we were able to add an additional 5 engineers from just based on the relationships we had in the Houston area, people that we knew, trusted, they trusted us. And so with just a phone call, we were able to staff up the project and get their project done in the time frame that they had challenged us with. Some of the innovations we've done, excuse me, I'm gonna have to get a quick sip of water here. The downside to our getting some rain and cooling off is that all the plants are in full bloom now. So if you suffer from allergies, it can be a challenging time. But there was a company we were working with here in Texas, but their research department was in Ohio, and they were routinely improving the product manufacturing process. And that this would require reprogramming the control systems, back and forth discussions with their operators and management in the Houston or Huntsville, Texas plant of theirs. We were able to develop a interpretive control system that would read their recipes and their procedures, and just by their updating a file, the next time a product was made, it was being made with the new settings, the new procedures, which were not just changing of values, but could literally change the order of steps and what the steps were doing within the library of steps that were available. And that was quite successful, and we were quite pleased with getting that done. Another example was a plant that had a complex assortment of both tanks, vessels, pumps, piping, and routing. And this was a routing issue. So by creating standalone devices, objects, and you'll hear that term, we use that term quite a bit, it's objects. If you create an object that has intelligence built within it, then it knows how to respond. And literally the system would create its own path based on each of the objects communicating with each other. And this also avoided the chance of an object or a piece of pipe being locked in such that as the temperature rose, it would rupture the pipe or cause leaks because of thermal expansion. So all of that was built into the objects, worked quite well. And this slide is just talking about a bit more about that, how to avoiding the thermal expansion issue, which had been a problem for them in the past in their manual operations, that they would accidentally close and isolate a section of pipe that then would result in a spill, which was because it was a very viscous, very material. It was quite a mess to clean up. So in summary, we really are an innovative company, always pushing the boundaries of what can be done. Very much a proponent of CODESYS. CODESYS has great object-oriented design capabilities. So we were able to create objects within CODESYS, which you've seen some examples of by others that allow for both improved performance, speed of modification, becomes more of an agile manufacturing system, but with high integrity and very low risk, because each object has been thoroughly tested already before it's put into operation. Now, with that, I'd like to talk a little bit about Texas A&M University Nuclear Engineering Research Lab. This is one of the many customers that we've established a good relationship with over the years. And they asked us to help them with a new product or a new project of theirs, which is related to small modular reactors, SMR. And this is an approach considerably different from the traditional nuclear project in the United States from 10, 20, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years ago, where each plant was custom designed and had all the challenges of a custom design. And the approach now is to build, instead of one large custom plant, to build smaller modular reactors. And if you need a large capacity, just to add multiple of the smaller modules, instead of one, but 3 or 6 or 12 small modular reactors that also have been designed with inherent fail-safe situations. So the possibility of a quote runaway reaction is no longer there, because the system inherently, if not being controlled properly, it doesn't run away, it just stops. This approach allows for a rapid, in fact, and these, particularly the small modular reactors, allows for a quick response to, say, a natural disaster, a hurricane that knocks out the power of an area, to quickly deploy a small modular reactor power system to a location and return powered to the utility and to service the community very, very quickly with an extremely high reliability and capable system. So this was, so I want to go through this a little bit. Our choice for this project was PLC Next with CODESYS. And that choice, we'll go through why we chose that, and some of the experience we had in implementing that system. First, why CODESYS? And if you're not just now joining, you've heard others say many of these same things. But something a bit unique about this project was that our prior projects at the lab had used bedrock automation, which was an innovative system, high cybersecurity, a very ruggedized system, but it was commercially unsuccessful. They were a part of a company that, a division of a company that was bought by Analog Devices. And after that acquisition, the choice was made to terminate Bedrock Automation's commercial operations. So it was no longer an option for the lab. But Bedrock Automation had wisely chosen CODESYS as their control platform, or from the software side. So despite them being gone, CODESYS fulfilled the vision that so many of us have heard of, but only a few people have had it to actually experience, of actually transporting the software, the programming, to a new platform, to a new hardware, with minimal change to the programming. So that was very attractive for us, for CODESYS, for this new system. And of course, it's the leading software for, as Chris just told us, over 500 companies are using it now, manufacturers of hardware and systems. And it has great support for object-oriented industrial programming. It's a fine point. Gary Pratt coined that term, but object-oriented programming, in the truest sense of the word, is extraordinarily complex and capable. And if you're in the IT world, object-oriented programming in this pure form is a wonderful thing. But in the industrial world, it's far too complex. So an adaptation of object-oriented programming, called object-oriented industrial programming, is absolutely perfect for our industry. CODESYS, of course, has wide use worldwide, and is you can't beat the price of CODESYS from the end user's perspective. Every one of their engineers can have their own CODESYS IDE and be experimenting and learning and playing around to build their capabilities for their different applications. Of course, in a university environment, that's ideal, because all the students can get their own version of the software for free and play around with it. Well, why Phoenix Contact to the PLC Next? Well, it has an excellent reputation as both as a company, and the hardware itself is proving itself to be very reliable. They are a COPA partner, and we'll speak more to that at the end of my talk. But that speaks very well to Phoenix Contact's vision for the future, because this is, in my opinion, the next phase of process control for large process systems, refineries, petrochemical plants, and such, as well as smaller systems. The PLC Next had attractive pricing, and its availability with CODESYS, combined with CODESYS, it gives you that you still have that familiar CODESYS control, integrated development environment to work within. And they're widely available all over the world. Okay, so in a sort of a summary, an initial summary of how things went, the project went very well, but there was a learning curve on the front end. As with any new technology, and that's sort of the good news and the bad news. If you're on the front end of things, doing different things, you get to experience the learning curve, the good and the bad of that. But this was quite handled quite well with both CODESYS and Phoenix Contact's help in answering questions of ours and working actively with us to understand exactly how all of this works. And with so many things, once you know the path and you've been down the path, it's easy now that you know. So another aspect of our philosophy and work is not to to try and to hide information that we know, but rather to share it with the industry.